All right, everybody, so that wraps up a wild week. And before we get into the charts, I'm just going to step up on a soapbox real quick. A lot of you have heard my story already, but just want to get on the reel with everybody real quick about charts and about technical analysis. I know there's a lot of doubters out there. So why I'm putting out all these videos, why I'm answering every question that's asked of me is because I pretty much see hundreds of people that are me 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I had $5,000 saved up from high school jobs. I put it into U.S. marijuana penny stocks, seeing the trend that was occurring. I knew nothing about trading. It was the first stock I ever put money in, and I was lucky enough to walk right into a booming market. So I made a bunch of money, realized, okay, I need to figure out what I'm doing here, and started to learn charts. I met a guy in the forums. I could see that he was more right than everybody else, and he posted charts, so I wanted to learn from him. He took me under his wing very generously, and he became my mentor and didn't charge me anything and answered every question I had. So I am eternally grateful for that, and he literally changed my life because for the next 3 years after I graduated school, I was able to travel around the country, road tripping, doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, not worrying about money one bit. So I'm not rich. I'm never going to be rich. I don't care about being rich, but I'm comfortable, and charting and trading has given me the financial independence to pretty much live how I want without being concerned about money. So he took me under his wing, told me everything that he knew. I dedicated, I'd say 4 months in a row every single day where I treated this as my full-time job, learning, watching the markets, watching the charts, and it clicked after about 4 months. And then since then, over the past 6 years, it's just gotten more and more. Really, every week I'm learning something new, but it's exponential, the amount of information and knowledge that you can gain just by experience and watching how everything plays out time and time and time again. The amount of charts that I've looked at over the last 6 years, I don't want to know the number because it would frighten me. So, do charts work? Yes, they can give you an edge in trading. I have never met a trader that learned technical analysis and did not utilize it. Anybody that bashes charts are people that have not put in the time to learn them. And it's their own way. I guess it's their ego kind of making amends for their inability to commit the time needed. It takes a ton of time. It takes a ton of motivation to learn this skill. But the internet gives us the opportunity to learn this skill. So not everybody is motivated, and I would say, maybe 8 out of 10 people that say they want to learn charts are going to give up in the first 2 months, and that's because they're just not motivated to stick with it. It seems complicated. It seems hard. It's much easier to give up. But if you stick with it, you will learn how to be a better trader by utilizing charts and technical analysis. I have absolutely no doubt about that. And are we going to be wrong? Absolutely. There is no such thing as 100%. These charts tell us what is most likely to happen. I believe I said 85% it would be a red day on Thursday. Well, that means 15 times out of 100 we have a green day, and we had a green day. I was 100% wrong, and I'm completely fine saying that because I know that on the whole, doing this for decades, I'm going to be more right than I am going to be wrong, and I'm going to make money doing it. It's also a really nice feeling to know that retirement is not the end of income and that you can generate income in any kind of trading environment. We have the marijuana sector exploding. This happened in the U.S. It's happening again in Canada. And now we're going to see the birth of a whole bunch more chartists that were just like me 6 years ago. So I welcome all the questions. I will answer as all of them that I can. And I will keep putting out these videos because I know how it changed my life. And even if it just changes one person's life, that's enough paying it forward for me that I feel good. So I ranked these charts. It's the same 6 from the last video, and I'm going to do another video that looks at some of the smaller names that might not be getting as much dollar volume and attention. But I've ranked them now in what I feel is the strongest looking daily charts. So I've got APH, SPRWF, which is SL, can't get a good chart on that, ACB, MT, CGC, and then OGI. I'll after I give the individual analysis, I'll go through the end as to why I put ones in front of other ones. So let's start with APH, the strongest in my opinion. It's the strongest in my opinion because yesterday on Thursday, we broke the high of Tuesday. None of the other names did that, and we closed up near the high of the day. So we're riding the upper Bollinger Band. Every name that is above the upper Bollinger Band is ahead in strength from any name that is below the upper Bollinger Band. It's the difference between support and resistance. You can see the low of the day, we've dipped and bounced off this level 6 days in a row, every time we dip below it, the bulls rally by the end of the day and close above the upper Bollinger Band, and it's moving extremely strong to the upside, so that's driving the price up with it. So we had a higher low and a higher high today. There was some profit taking. It is still a little bit sketchy when we see 10-15% drops in an hour in some of these stocks when a lot of these stop losses trigger all at once. So we do need to still be cautious, but this is a much more bullish reaction than I anticipated to see, and it's pretty much the best case scenario that the bulls could have hoped for. We're seeing volume taper off after the huge move, which is expected, but the price is still ascending. So we're building supports on the way up, and even when we do see those quick dumps during the day on the 5-minute charts, the bulls are buying those dips, and the bulls are still around here. There are some games to be aware of. Just want to point this out real quick. On CGC today, at I believe it was 1260. The exact price is slipping my brain, but there was a 130,000 share block on the ask. It was either 1260 or 13. I don't know. Either way, it was on the ask, and I said, wow, someone's going to need $1.3 million to break through that ask. Let's see if the price sells off. The price then knocked down a little bit, and it traded in the, let's just make sure this price. So yeah, it was 1360. And then it traded in the 1350s for a while. And then the price blew right through 1360 and went to 1370. And I thought, whoa, did someone really just buy $1.3 million at once? And I looked at the time in sales, and the time in sales is a print that tells you every single time of every single trade and the amount of shares that it was for, and nowhere near that amount of shares was bought. So that tells me someone put those shares on the ask, scared some people out, maybe they loaded up some more shares, and then they moved those shares off the ask, and the price went right through it. So there are some manipulation games to be had. That's called looking at level 2. And level 2 shows you the bid and ask orders, and it can show you games that are being played, and that was a game that was played today on CGC. Someone putting up a big scary wall and then removing it less than 5 minutes later. So that was a little sidetrack. Wasn't planning on talking about that there. Let's get back to APH. Above the upper Bollinger Band, we've got a new resistance of $6.99, the high of the day, $7 psychological level. What I mean when I say psychological level is the human brain really likes round numbers, and specifically $1, $10, and $100. But if you see a new IPO start trading and it doesn't have any previous price history to go off of for support and resistance levels, very often it is nice round numbers that act as support and resistance, and that's because of the human brain. People put their sell orders at $7 here, and the price makes it up to $6.99 and then rejects. And so psychological support, $5.97, right around that 6 area. So oftentimes they will be the exact round number, but even when they aren't, if there's an area where I can't see a support or resistance in the near term, right around that area, I'll look to the psychological levels to act as support or resistance. So I'm all over the place here. I'm not planning on talking about any of this, so sorry I'm a little scatterbrained, but APH. Resistance is $6.99. Support is $5.97. That's the high and the low of today. And we are still forming higher lows and higher highs since we hit that crazy pullback day. So we can look at smaller time frames and get more specific resistances. You can look at the 5-minute chart, and every time you see a move to the upside that then pulls back, that's a new resistance level. So if we have a 5-minute chart that's forming higher lows and higher highs, every dip that's a low is a support. Every high where we pull back is a resistance. So I'm looking at right now, we've got $6.99 and $7.79 as resistance. And because there is no real levels in between there, if we break $6.99 and get over 7, I would then be looking at $7.50 to act as resistance. There's a psychological round number because there's not many levels here otherwise. So the bulls have been buying the dip. They are still around and they are still strong. That's the bottom line. The weekly time frame does have an upper wick of profit taking, but it's not a bearish reversal candlestick. And after Wednesday, all of these charts showed big bearish reversal candlesticks, but because we have recovered Thursday and Friday, the bulls took away a lot of that upper wick with the real body of the candlestick closing stronger, and it does still show profit taking, but we are definitely still in breakout mode, and the bulls are still in control. This upper Bollinger Band on the weekly time frame is going to be in the mid $5 range next week. That will act as support as well, but we have plenty of support levels to watch before that. Most notably $5.97, the low of yesterday, $5.82, and then the low from the dump day, $5.10. That is the biggie. The range from Wednesday on all of these names is very important, and I expect to trade within that range for quite a few days now, and once we break either the high or the low of the range on Wednesday, it will be very telling as to who is in control of the trend. SPRWF, this big upper wick is a misprint. It only reached a high of 144 today, so that top would be right about here. So SPRWF is up here in terms of the stronger ones because of the upper Bollinger Band. We had an inside candlestick yesterday, tightening range, and we broke the high of 138 today. So a bullish break to the upside. Resistance is 154. And because we hit 144 today, we're only 10 cents away from that level, less than 10% from continuation to the upside and hitting higher highs. So you can see we're riding the upper Bollinger Band support here. It will be in the low 130s come Monday. The RSI is just getting above 70. You look at APH, and it's been above 70 for a week and a half. So that can sometimes signal overbought, but when you have a breakout sector, you can see how long the RSI stays above 70, so it doesn't mean as much when you're in blue sky breakout or seeing tons of strength. But that just shows you that we're just really hitting a breakout on SPRWF because we traded really tight for 6 weeks before breaking out. We've had a 4-day breakout here on SPRWF where we see APH has had a 7-day breakout. So the weekly time frame as well, that upper wick is not there. It only made it to 144. And we did close above the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly, so we are now breaking out on the weekly again, just like we were back in August and September after we had long-term consolidation. But this consolidation was very healthy. We built a strong base of support down in the 90s and around the $1 range. ACB also strong because we're above the upper Bollinger Band, but the fact that we didn't clearly break the high of yesterday, we broke it by a penny, but that's pretty much a double top. So that's why it's at the back end of the strength names that are above their upper Bollinger Band. Still a higher low, but we need a convincing break of 340 on Monday to show that continuation. And again, the upper Bollinger Band will be a very key support. Anybody that loses their upper Bollinger Band support goes to the back of the line in terms of short-term strength. And I want to make that clear. All of this analysis, the vast majority of it, is on a daily basis, so I'm looking a few days out. This is not weekly, monthly, longer term. I know Canada has a lot of question marks with the legalization rules that are going to be put into place. So I'm just looking into next week. So we're looking for a break of 340 for the bulls to continue the weekly time frame. Very strong, big volume. And this was one of the biggest movers in terms of percentages on Wednesday. We saw huge swings in that percentages. So it's worth keeping an eye on ACB. If it stays strong after 340, we're looking up at 395. There's not a lot of resistance here, and it doesn't take a ton of volume to see big-time price movement. MT, so now we're getting into the names that have lost their upper Bollinger Band support, and you can see it's now acting as resistance. So after acting as support for day after day on breakout, it's now being back-tested. When a level was previously support and is now resistant, it's back-tested and rejecting the price. So you can see that upper wick with a good amount of profit taking, more profit taking than we saw on any of the other names we've looked at so far. High of the day 687, and we closed down at 645. Still maintaining higher lows. The bulls want to see those trends continue. You can see an increase in volume, and it's a nice green candlestick, so you would assume it's an increase in bull volume, but you have to attribute some of that to profit taking because of the size of the upper wick. So a lot of that volume is bulls exiting and potentially bears jumping in. So resistance is the upper Bollinger Band, which will be higher at the open on Monday. 687 is resistance, then up to $7 psychological. So you can see we're not even close to breaking the high of Tuesday, up at 705, and then looking up at 748. So any name that has the high of Tuesday still has resistance is on the weaker end of the spectrum. Weekly time frame, upper wick showing profit taking, not significant enough that it is a bearish reversal candlestick. An inverted hammer is when the real body, which is this white part, is 1/3 the size of the total range. So the wick would be twice the size of the real body. And you can see it's pretty close to a 50-50 split there. So it doesn't fit the definition of a bearish reversal candlestick, but it does show profit taking. Same thing, upper Bollinger Band on the weekly will be key support to watch. Look back here, when we lost the upper Bollinger Band, we consolidated for a few weeks, lost the upper Bollinger Band, we traded sideways, consolidated for a few weeks. So remaining in breakout mode keeps the bulls strong. CGC, you can see it too is now rejecting from the upper Bollinger Band. Previously support, now resistance. We topped out today at 1404. Higher low pattern still intact, so 1180 is support. You can see I'm just looking at the high and the low of the day for the most immediate support and resistance levels. Volume still decreasing, and there was a very clear pattern on Canopy here on the 5-minute time frames, and we posted that in Reddit. the clear descending triangle pattern that had a break and an all-out dump, and it shows you the proof that not only are traders watching that pattern, but in my opinion, there were definitely algos and computer systems that recognized that increase in selling pressure and triggered a bunch of stop loss orders, and it dropped 10 to 15% in 1 hour after that pattern broke. So weekly time frame, same thing, a little bit longer of an upper wick than we had with MT compared to the real body of the candlestick. So almost a bearish reversal inverted hammer, lots of profit taking all the way up at 1786. We closed about, 30% down from the high. That's pretty significant. There was a lot of profit taking going on. And we'll see if that carries over into tomorrow. But again, as long as the higher low, higher high pattern on the daily time frame for these names stays intact, the bulls are in control. If we start to see a lower low, if the low of today were to break on Monday, we would look for a pullback and for a higher low to form compared to Wednesday. What I would expect this to be our lower high. If we see weakness Monday, pull back, form a higher low, lower high, tightening range with a clear break by end of next week, and the clear break is accompanied by a spike in volume. And you can see a declining volume pattern consistent as the range continues to tighten. So we'll know a lot more Monday. If we continue Monday seeing higher lows and higher highs, the bulls are absolutely still strong. But if we break the higher low pattern on the daily, then it's time to start looking for further consolidation back towards the low of Wednesday. But I don't expect the low of Wednesday to break. I expect a higher low to form, and then a lower high and a continued tightening range. Last, we've got OGI rejecting from the upper Bollinger Band resistance, nowhere near the high of Tuesday, 416. We topped out at 393. So higher low, higher high, same pattern. If we break 355 on Monday, we're looking to head back down towards 330. The 10-day moving average supports will also be there as support, defending the low of Wednesday. By Monday and Tuesday, though, that 10-day moving average support will be above the low of Wednesday, so that will be a key level of support to watch as well. And the weekly time frame for OGI, that is a bearish reversal hammer. You can see the real body of the candlestick is about 1/3 the size. A red week next week and a loss of the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly would indicate consolidation, just like it has every time we have broke out above the upper Bollinger Band. We lose it, we consolidate. Break out, lose it, consolidate. Break out, lose it, and consolidate, and there again. So that's the pattern. You can see the history of it playing out 4 times in the past year, and we know if that were to occur again, we could anticipate consolidation. Oh, that's a mouthful. So I was all over the place. I apologize for that. Next time I'll write down the points that I want to cover a little bit more organized, so I'm not jumping all over the place in the middle of the charts. So I'm going to get going on the smaller name video, and there's also an IPO coming up, EMC. I'm going to be doing research this weekend. I believe it opens and begins trading on November 30th, I was told. I have to double check that. But need to do some research there, and thinking about doing a course as well in the future about how I fundamentally research Canadian marijuana companies and what I do to dig into the financials, how I analyze the technicals on the charts, and how I dig into the history of the executives and all of that. So we'll see, lots of ideas spinning around, and looking forward to putting out continued content. Appreciate all the support, and I will see you guys in the near future. Guys and girls.